Hi, this is Ian Westerman from EssentialTennis.com. Welcome to video 1 of 3, in which I'm going to be focusing on something that's extremely important to your success on the tennis court, and that is the split step. The split step, a lot of times, I think is kind of trivialized by recreational players, and that's to their own detriment. It's actually extremely important. There's certain things in tennis that we focus on that are kind of stylistic choices, or maybe certain body type will do certain technique this way and another body type that way. The split step is not one of those things. When you look at high-level players, recreational players, and professional players, it's universal. And I'm talking 4 or 5 players and above. Every shot, with almost no exceptions, and every player uses the split step. And that just kind of goes to prove how extremely important it is. On the other hand, when you go and you watch beginners or intermediate players, beginners, you really don't see it at all. Intermediate players, it depends on the players. Some players will use it, some players don't. I don't want you to make that mistake. I want you to start using it on a regular basis, and I'm going to show you exactly how. So in this video, I'm going to show you the technique of how to perform a split step correctly. And before we do that, I just want to define the purpose of a correct split step. The definition of the purpose of a split step is being as balanced and prepared to move to the ball as possible at precisely the right time. Again, the purpose is being as balanced and prepared to move to the ball as possible at precisely the right time. And in this video, we're going to focus on the technique of the split step, and we're going to be using a professional player, David Ferrer, to kind of be an example for us so that we can see how the pros use this incredibly important tool. So let's go ahead and take a look at David Ferrer, and you'll see that in this rally here, he is hitting back and forth with Andy Murray. This is a practice session at Cincinnati, at the Western and Southern Open at Cincinnati. I guess I should have been able to tell that based on the background, right? So they're hitting back and forth. Ferrer is hitting volleys. Murray is hitting ground strokes back on the baseline. And Ferrer is getting ready to go into a split step here. Murray's getting ready to hit. We're not going to talk about timing in this video. That's going to be the next video in this 3-part series. Here I'm just going to use Ferrer as a technique example. So let's watch Ferrer as he gets ready. You're going to see him take a couple of little steps here. This is not his split step. Here's his split step right here, and you'll see both his feet come off the court. You'll see both of his feet widen, and he'll touch back down again on the balls of his feet. If you want to say toes, that's fine as well. But ultimately, the balance of his body weight goes onto the balls of his feet. And there's really 3 things, technique-wise, that you need to make note of. Number 1, I want your feet to be at least shoulder width apart, preferably a little bit wider. If we draw vertical lines here going up from his feet, you'll see that Ferrer's a good bit wider than shoulder width apart. I've heard teachers say that you shouldn't go any wider than shoulder width apart because then you get too wide and it's too difficult to then move your momentum, kind of shift your momentum and move towards the ball. I think that's correct to a certain extent, but I think a lot of teachers, to be honest with you, totally overstate that. I would much rather you get wide than narrow. Narrow, if you do the split step and you're narrow, it's better than nothing. But if you want to be in a good, solid athletic stance and athletic position, wider than shoulder width apart, in my opinion, is really important. So let's go back to Ferrer. So that's technique element number 1 is the width. Number 2 is bent knees. So look at as he gets down, and right here he already identifies where the ball is. He's getting ready to hit. But look at the bend in his knees here. This is really important if you want to be as prepared as possible. And it goes back to what I said a second ago, and that is just being in an athletic stance, being in a prepared, balanced position with your body. And having your knees bent is definitely something that can help that. It helps you be able to then take that stored up energy in your legs and push off towards whichever direction that the next ball is hit. So it gets everything prepared to move. That's the whole point of the split step, right? As we talked about in the definition, is to be as prepared as possible to move towards the ball at precisely the right time. So that's number 2, is the bent knees. And then thirdly, what we're going to look at here from Ferrer is look at how his heels are off the court as he's preparing to move towards this shot. And really, his heels never touch the court. They get close. Here he is coming down into a split step. They get close, but you can kind of see here that there's still a little bit of space on both sides. He never really gets flat-footed. And that is as opposed to the broad majority of recreational players that quite truthfully stay flat-footed throughout the entire period of time that their opponent is hitting the ball. And then they're starting from a totally static position. They're just totally stopped on the court surface, and they have to regather everything and get going again. Please don't do that. I want you to stop having to restart everything and go back down to zero, restart again every time the ball is hit. And if we go back to Ferrer here and look at a couple of shots, we'll see that he repeats this process over and over. And you will see him take a couple of little kind of bounce steps back and forth in preparation as the ball is going to Murray. And then here's this split step right here. And again, shoulder width apart, heels off the court, knees bent, and moving towards the ball. Or the ball basically came to him that time. So a couple little dance steps again. Here's the split step right here. On the balls of the feet, knees bent, feet more than shoulder width apart. And we will see him repeat that over and over and over and over again. Let's take a look at one more here. Here's the split step right here. More than shoulder width apart. Heels way off the court there. And then starting to move back towards the ball again. And knees bent, of course. But here's the split step right here. So there's our three technique elements of the split step. That's all we're going to talk about in this video. I wanted to make sure that we had enough time to really cover that in detail. So remember, the technique elements that you need to do are feet at least shoulder width apart, really preferably wider than that. Number 2 is a bend in the knees. And number 3 is heels off the court and balance on the balls of your feet. If you do those 3 things in terms of your technique, you're doing a great job. In the next video, we're going to talk about timing. Remember, there's kind of 2 parts to this definition or whole purpose behind the split step. Being as ready to move as possible at precisely the right time. So in the next video, we're going to talk about that second element, the timing part of it. Until then, please leave me any thoughts or comments that you have right below this video. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if you currently use the split step and be honest. And if you're not sure, again, be honest. And if it's something that you're not doing now, if you start working on it, it's going to be a little awkward at first, but I promise you, as it starts to become a habit and you start getting used to it, you're going to feel like you're moving so much better, getting to balls that you were never getting to before, because you're going to be so much more prepared than you ever have before. So until next time, thank you very much for watching and take care. Want to serve more like the pros? Find out how as I compare Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic during my free 5-video course. Get it now at freeservecourse.com. That's freeservecourse.com.